Hello, my lovelies. I'm Jenny O, the author with no last name, and today I'm going to talk about something that has baffled me since the very first time I heard about it. Dreamworld. As in, who the hell would buy this game? And calling it a game is me being very generous. I went to school for fashion design, and there I learned 3 very important things when it comes to any type of project you offer for sale. Target marketing, branding, and costing. And from that perspective, Dreamworld absolutely breaks my brain. And I know the MMORPG community is desperately starving for new content and is scrabbling to find the next big thing. And this makes them the worst people to scam, since data mining is in their DNA, which completely bears out in the story of Dreamworld so far. But to me, as a branding/marketing trained person, it's pretty clear this is a scam of a game because it has no idea what it wants to be. I didn't need anything else. I didn't need the ex-fiancé, I didn't need to know the past history of these guys, I didn't even really need the impossible features. Because it wants to be a game of a game of a game. Like 50 Shades is a fanfic of a fanfic of a fanfic, okay? And people have thrown money at this because they are desperate and will take any hope at this point. So the story goes, we've got 2 guys, and one is the genius Google person, who might as well not exist in this story, named Garrison. Google Garrison. And the other is serial entrepreneur Zachary Kaplan. Zachary has made himself the face of Dreamworld, and the video on the Kickstarter was about him, not about the game. Let's be clear, it was emotional manipulation by a narcissist to get money out of people. Zachary's prior projects are just as much of a mess as Dreamworld. First, we have the Core Aegis Speaker, which is not a name I'd go looking for when wanting a speaker. Aegis means support or protection. I'm not looking for protection when I'm looking for a speaker. Maybe a back support girdle? Not a speaker. The name sounds cool, but doesn't fit the product. It's clearly be Tony Stark in design, and the target market for this isn't white, middle-income exercise enthusiasts. If you don't know the market for people who love to play their music obnoxiously loud to annoy others, then, well, yeah. Also, I wouldn't wear the speaker near your heart. It's not going to be good for it. Between the sound vibrations, the magnetism of the speaker, and the batteries, it'd be better to wear it up near your shoulder. I know you can't look like Tony Stark that way, but your heart health will thank you. Then there is Baron. I know everyone else covering this means well, and they're using the words Zachary is using to describe Baron. Baron is not a fashion brand. To call Baron a fashion brand and Zachary a fashion designer is an insult to all of us who have taken the time to learn about what goes into a collection, fabrications, pattern making, construction, and sewing. At best, Zachary is a graphic designer slapping his designs onto a Boss Basic t-shirt and hoodie bought in bulk and done by your local t-shirt shop. And you could find just as good, if not better, at Hot Topic. The name Baron doesn't make me think t-shirts and hoodies either, or strange tiger designs. Baron makes me think high-class, well-tailored menswear and fabrications reminiscent of the 14th and 15th centuries, pushing the boundaries against Beau Brummel, the late 17th century and early 18th century Regency dandy we can blame all modern menswear design on today. Again, name sounds cool, doesn't fit the product. So please, for my blood pressure, stop calling Zachary a fashion designer and Baron a fashion brand. So far, for a serial entrepreneur who is supposed to be a marketer, Zachary isn't doing very well. This brings us to Dreamworld. Let's start with the name. Oh my god, this name is so generic to be bland. Okay, I don't know what Dreamworld even means, and usually the world of dreams is nonsense, and that is literally what he is selling. Utter nonsense. To make matters slightly worse, there is actually already a game on Steam called Dreamworld, a survival crime gang game. I don't think survival crime gang stuff when I think Dreamworld either. At least the Dreamworld on Steam is set out better than this Dreamworld Kickstarter. Oh, and Good Games Big Farm has an expansion to it called Dreamworld. Pink, purple, fluffy clouds, crescent moons. Finally, something that makes sense for this name. The worst thing, though, is Dreamworld is a theme park in Australia. When you Google Dreamworld, you aren't going to get this MMO. You aren't going to get the game on Steam. You are going to get hundreds of links for the theme park. This is the death of your game. If no one can Google you and find you first thing, then you failed in naming your game. Yes, Zachary and his friend could possibly trademark Dreamworld for the video game use, because they aren't making a theme park here. Though they'd have to prove they had it first over the Steam game, and I don't think they do, since they renamed the game Dreamworld from Elysium, but it's still pointless. Google SEO wins, which is a weird thing to be doing when your one guy is claiming to be a genius Google person, and the other is a marketer. If no one can find you, no one can play your game. Listen, I'm an indie author who lives and dies on visibility. At least if you Google Ginny O, Ginny Zero, or Heaven Seasons, you're going to have a higher chance of finding me and nothing else. I spent a good time Googling when I was creating my little biker club, so I wouldn't step on any real biker club's toes here. The next big thing after the name any marketer or person is going to notice is the logo. First off, Zachary likes circles. I guess the circle is supposed to be world. But here's the thing, this logo tells me nothing about this game. Okay, we've got the D and the W overlapping each other, so without the name underneath it, I wouldn't know it's supposed to be a D behind there. It could be an O. It could be a Q. No idea. The fonts here aren't matching either, which is a big no-no. Fonts are a huge part of branding. You need to choose one and stick it to it in your logo. And in the logo, is that Times New Roman? Embezzled all to hell? Or maybe Garamond? I mean, when I think Dreamworld, I don't think Times New Roman or any generic serif font. By the way, most fonts have a copyright attached to them. Unless these are free Google fonts, they need to have a commercial license paid to use them for logos and in their game. But we've got this light with the little guy, and is it a portal or is he being sucked up by aliens? I don't know what this logo means. It doesn't tell me anything about the game. Is it fantasy? Is it sci-fi? Am I going into lots of portals? So from the get-go, just by looking at the name and the logo, I don't know what this game is. And then we get to the kicker. The last game you'll ever play. Every game, every style, every genre. This is not a brand. This is not a dream. This is a nightmare. The very first question that this game does not answer is, who would want to play this game? As a marketer, everyone and everything is not a viable marketing strategy. You are setting yourself up for failure if you are trying to please everyone in the MMO genre or in the gaming world. Also, why does this game have every genre from fantasy to anime to sci-fi to horror in it? There is no logical or plausible reason given for why all these things are in one world. It's because I want it to, says Zachary. It's my dream game. That's not how it works. If he's making it for himself, we can assume he wants to get the 18 to 24-year-old male. I don't like making assumptions. And if he says every game and every style, then every player is up for grabs, including the 52% of the player base that's female. Someone wanting to play it because they have backers is not the same thing as a target market. A target market is a very specific group of people who you know their ages, their income, and their likes and dislikes, and most often, if not always, will include a specific genre for a game and game type. The game development world has the target market of the 18 to 24-year-old male down to a science. Okay? Fortnite, League of Legends, Halo, Grand Theft Auto, Soul Calibur, whatever number we're on now. DBZ Budokai. They know that market like the back of their hand. When Blizzard wanted to make their first-person shooter Overwatch more female-friendly, they had to go and do some research on how to do that. It involved focusing more on faces so people could sympathize with the characters more. Makes sense. And they did get more female players. There is no excuse here. This male 18 to 24-year-old demographic is the easiest market in existence. It is everywhere from your games to your summer blockbusters. So they should know at least what part of that demographic wants so they can at least narrow down their game type and their game look. I'm not sure of the target market for this game visually. When you say every style, well, not every style appeals to a singular group of people. Some people love WoW's cartoony style, other players hate it and are on Guild Wars or ESO for the more realistic style. One section they show in Ice Cream Land that's more female-oriented. And notice, they haven't even introduced how they are going to work every style and make it jive together. Does your toon change styles as you go into different areas of this infinite map? Technologically impossible. Does a realistic toon change into a low poly character in a low poly area? Or a cartoon character in a cartoon area? Are there Asian cartoons versus Sly Cooper-like cartoons? Or does your toon stay the same, sticking out like a sore thumb, enough to make any artist want to scream as this is nails on a chalkboard type of effect down our nerves? Look, Kingdom Hearts did this changing styles on different worlds thing, and it was cool because they kept the styles restricted to individual worlds and changed Sora and company to match. Most of the time. But Cloud and Sephiroth tended to stick out if they were in any cartoony areas, like Mickey's Castle. They clashed. It didn't look right. Every type of game, well, that doesn't narrow things down either. Some people like racing games, some people like hidden object games. I mean, not that they've included those in their list of features. Let's be honest, their list of featured mechanics are standard MMORPG features. Sort of. Without the classes and everything else that would set them apart. They haven't even defined a class, or magic, or technology skill system. So why would an MMORPG lover want to play this game when they don't even know what classes and skills they can get? Types of games gives a game an identity. When you say racing game, I know what I'm getting into. If you say endless runner, or platformer, or RPG, or cooking, I know what type of game it is. If you say it's every game, I'm going to be extremely confused because that's simply not possible. Dreamworld needs an identity of a type of game. It needs something for the rest of the idea to revolve around, whether it's a game type, or visualization, or genre. There is no target demo for this game. It doesn't amuse me that every toon they've shown is male. I mean, the astronaut could be male or female. Come on, if the only maybe female is a person in a suit so baggy you can't tell their gender, it's meaningless. And you'd be amazed at how many MMO-style games market themselves with sexy female toons. I guess so boys will want to play? I don't care. This is an alpha. Setting out your target market brand and what your game is going to be is the very first thing you do as a marketer, because you need to set a budget for how much money you're going to want or need to make this game. Everyone and everybody to make it the last game you'll ever play is highly unrealistic, even budget-wise. Okay, a small MMO that takes 2 years to develop and involves one style with bare minimum mechanics can cost up to $2 million, and that's with pre-made assets. Star Stable Online. We know a game like Final Fantasy XIV had a development budget of $120 million, and they had a pre-made universe to work with. The concept of every game type and every game style is not a $100 million game to produce. We are talking at least $500 million or more. When you are pitching to an investor, the question they are going to ask is, why should we make this game? And if you tell them it's every game in every style, they're going to laugh you out of the room. Because, well, no one is going to want that game or to even try to make that game because it's expensive, too risky, and lacks identity. Investors don't care about your game mechanics. They want to know what is so special about your game players are going to buy it and spend lots of time in it. Technically, investors want the story of your game. They want the narrative part of it, not the story of how the game came to be or massive amounts of game lore and your detailed map. No, they want the Query Shark style query letter. The PC is in a set universe going up against X conflict, and if they fail, Y happens. The reason they don't care about game mechanics is because we've pretty much plateaued almost on game mechanics. Your pitch for an MMORPG, the largest costing type of game on market, has got to be, why would anyone want a second life in your game? Or why would anyone play this game over the top 10 MMOs already out there? Please go watch Why I Hate Your Game Pitch from the 2018 GDC. Not only is it informational, it's funny. A list of features from infinite map, on-map building, PvP building only, mounts, whatever features you think makes your game unique is not the reason why anyone would want to create a second life in your game. A list of features, which is the first thing on the Dreamworld Kickstarter, is not a brand. A list of game mechanics has absolutely nothing to do with a game brand, especially when they have no indication of how they're going to implement said game mechanics. If you can't grip an investor with your story about what makes your game unique and the game style interesting, no amount of fancy game mechanics is going to save it. Many, many, many of the Kickstarter's MMOs and such I've seen are the exact same way. They come at it from two angles. They have a list of features they think would make an MMORPG cool, they've played and loved them in other RPGs, or they want to make RuneScape / World of Warcraft / EverQuest 2, but better. Neither of those is a unique brand that will get anyone to play your game except those who have already played World of Warcraft, RuneScape, etc. And if your game doesn't deliver better than those games, you're going to lose people quickly back to those games. Repeat after me. It is better to be your own thing than a copy of someone else. Dreamworld isn't even a direct copy of someone else while wanting to be a game of a game of a game. It's just a list of pretty standard features if they aren't impossible features for an MMORPG and stolen assets in the Unreal standard UI. Most of what Dreamworld is saying for their features is technologically impossible. I know MMO people want the technologically impossible because they said they want to push the genre into these huge type of fights with sudden bosses and well things that we can't do with our current internet grid and the way servers are constructed. But every game style is more than MMO mechanics. You're going to have racing and platformers and siege stuff, and if this is the last game I'm ever going to play, it better have every game style you could want from Connect 3 to one-on-one fighting. Every game style you add to this game is more money to produce. It's more mechanics to fit in like a puzzle piece. It makes even more pie in the sky. Am I suddenly going to be going about my business in this world and be a 16-bit Mario-style platformer? Sorry, Mario, your princess is in another castle. What Dreamworld has put out in their video and in their list of features is they want you to build their game for them. Pay them for the privilege, and they aren't even going to have the decency to have made from scratch the assets and textures, etc. you're going to be using, or the coding for the mechanics. And their rewards are retextured assets, or just plain up assets they've stolen from someone else. This isn't a game. There is no goal here. There is no core game loop or game value the game is revolving around, because in order to have those, they'd actually have to have some sort of story and brand for the game. If you want to build a game, Epic will let you build games in Unreal. There is Unity. You don't have to pay these guys to play in a world you can make yourself if you have a strong enough CPU on your computer and enough money to actually pay for the assets, which I guess they haven't done. So is it even legal for anyone to be using this game at all? They also claim they're going to be putting in features weekly. Well, some of us know how that turns out. Cersei, catch up. I hope you can see why, as a person whose job it is literally to come up with fun worlds and tell stories in them, aka brands, or to design clothes, aka, again, brands, why Dreamworld is so baffling. Because given what they've put out there, there is nothing unique or special or coherent enough about this game that would have me putting any sort of money behind it. Zachary has yet again failed as a marketer. And I know this is obviously a scam. It wouldn't have survived an actual investor pitch, say at GDC, or going through the real Y Combinator process. It being a scam hurts a lot of people. It's going to hurt Y Combinator. It's going to hurt other small indie developers who may not have coding experience and are going to want to hire coders to help them, but they may not be able to because of projects like Dreamworld. Dreamworld is so extreme and so not put together even for a scam. It's sad and sick people fell for it. Almost every single Kickstarter MMO story is turning out the same. People throwing money at well-intentioned devs. Dreamworlds are not well-intentioned, by the way. And then not getting the game promised. They may not all be scams. It's getting to the point where it's obvious MMOs shouldn't be funded or anything on Kickstarter by the players. It's not ethically or morally right for you to be asking people to fund your alpha game. This is me coming off the whole Star Stable debacle, which is such a small thing compared to the rest of the MMO community, where Star Stable has essentially milked up to 80 million out of its player base over the last 10 years, and the mechanics in the game engine are still at an alpha game level after those 10 years, and they're just a digital game store with a nod towards being a game at all. So I'm in this very cynical place. Pre-alpha style games are not something the player base should be seeing, much less playing in or funding. Sometimes even alpha games shouldn't be seen, much less have people playing in them unless they're beta testers. Responsible companies pay their beta testers. The moral of this is, well, don't give tech bros with a sob story money, apply your critical thinking skills, and don't fund alpha games as a private person. Branding is, well, it's a lot of work. It's a skill set. And it's something, if you're making a game, you need to think about early and create your core game document and put it up somewhere so you can refer back to it daily to stave off things like feature creep. And while having so many things in your game, it's not a brand at all. Branding is knowing and researching your competition to be able to come up with something that makes you stand apart from the huge crowd clamoring for your target market's attention. What sets Dreamworld apart is its incoherency, which is the last thing you want as a marketer. As a brand, Dreamworld is a failure from beginning to end, the latest in a string of marketing failures from Zachary. I think I'm going to leave this here. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves, bless, stay safe, and as always, I will see you in the next video.